Many thanks, Yazan, for the invitation to your ridiculous 24-hour event. It's absolutely incredible. Well done on organising it. I'm James Harvey. I'm a breast surgeon in Manchester in the UK. And I'd just like to let you know about the iBra-Net localization study, which essentially is looking at all new localization devices coming onto the market and collecting post-marketing surveillance data on them so we know outcomes. Things have changed in the UK in recent years with the Cumberland review. This essentially was looking at vaginal meshes and the long-term outcome and other devices. And essentially it's saying that the regulation around medical devices is much less than it would be for instance, a drug. So the idea really of the Cumberland review is that we should be collecting much more data on the devices we use, and we should know how they perform when we put them in, and we should know the long-term outcomes of them. In the UK, we have got a group of surgeons called the iBra-Net who are affiliated with the Association of Breast Surgeons. And our idea is that any new devices that we evaluate the outcomes of them. So we're a multidisciplinary group of breast and plastic surgeons and other professionals. And we aim to collect post-marketing data and research data on new devices so that we know together what the outcomes are going to be. So the mantra really for us is no innovation without evaluation. Now, clearly this is not a purely UK idea, and it would work well on an international forum. The advantage of collecting data together is that we can get big data sets, we can get them really quickly, we have known outcomes, we can either get short-term outcomes or long-term outcomes. It enables really good patient consent, so you can tell the patient, well, we've evaluated this device, we know what the outcomes are, we know long-term it has these complications or no complications, and it's good governance. So if you're using a new device, if we're part of a national or international audit, there is good governance and safety backup on how to use it. So the iBra-Net localization study started with essentially comparing wire localization in 950 patients with MagSeed, because that was the first to market in the UK. The primary endpoint of the study was to look at identification of the index lesion. So essentially, did you remove the cancer along with the MagSeed? We looked at secondary outcomes as well, including margins, specimen weight, safety of the procedure, cancellations on the day of surgery, efficiency, and so on. And so we had several aims. One was to describe the current practice of breast localization and wide local excision in the UK. And then we wanted to evaluate the surgical outcomes of the new localization technology versus wires. We wanted to build a platform study. So essentially we took wires as our control group, and then we're going to compare each new localization device with the wires to make sure that they're better or as good as what we had before. The study also has shared learning within it, so that if we learn a better way to use the procedure, how to avoid a problem with the procedure, how to set up the device a little bit better, we would share the learning amongst all the different users in the multiple centers. So progress so far with the iBra-Net localization study, we have published the National Practice Questionnaire, which you can have a look at in Breast Cancer Research and Treatment. And we have also published the methodology for the study. So essentially, as I said, it's a platform study comparing multiple devices with the control group, which is wires, and also embedded shared learning within it. We also have the control data on wires and MagSeed, which has been collected and we've presented elsewhere in a webinar with Endomag, which you can find on their website. And the manuscript is currently pending publication. So just to give you a brief description of the wire versus MagSeed study. So this recruited between August 2018 and August 2020. We aimed to recruit 950 patients in each group, and we actually recruited 2,300 patients from 35 UK units. We really just analysed unifocal lesions The majority being, as you would expect, ultrasound guided, but obviously some stereo guided in there too. And overall, we found with MagSeed, 99.8% of the index lesions were removed compared to 99.1% with wire. This did reach statistical significance, but I think you'd say that both devices performed extremely well. We analyzed data on surgical outcomes only for the single unifocal lesions because they are comparable, and we only looked at small lesions, C1, CT1 and CT2 only. This was because we didn't want large mammoplasty specimens or weights of large specimens to bias the data set. So essentially, when we look at between MagSeed and wires, same proportion of shaves taken, margins were similar, re-excision was identical, and the specimen weight proportional to the size of the specimen compared to the size of the lesion was, as you can see, absolutely identical. Logistical outcomes, if you look at surgical start time with MagSeed on the bottom, you can see that MagSeed patients were able to get to theatre earlier, mainly because wires are obviously placed that morning and it's difficult to do one first on the list. But the surgical time was similar between the two groups. So now I'd just briefly like to tell you about the new studies that we've got open. So we've completed the wire versus MagSeed data. We have the wire data as a comparison group. And we'd like to open these next two studies to international collaborators. So the next two arms of the platform study are currently Herlogic, which opened earlier this year. And again, we're aiming for approximately 950 records to compare to our other two data groups. So far, we have 380 records from 62 collaborators in 29 units worldwide, and we're aiming to finish recruitment by May 2022. We would welcome any study collaborators from anywhere in the world to join if you just email localizationstudy@gmail.com or visit iBra-Net.com, where you can have a look at the protocols and also click the button to join. If you join the study, essentially you'll get sent a lot of information about the protocol. We'll ask for a bit of background information about your unit. And then when you join, you can start uploading your data into a REDCap online database. The database essentially keeps your data for you to look at. So you can look at your unit's data at any point you like and obviously present it in your local audit and feed it back to your managers as you start using the device. But also your data will be used for the larger data set for a multi-center comparison. You will be the first to get feedback on that. I think we're likely to do a webinar at the end of the Herlogic recruitment to give everybody the outcomes, and then obviously outcomes will be published and you will be cited as a collaborator on that project. Also, every month, if you join the study, you'll get a safety update and a recruitment update, and any learning points will be sent through in that newsletter or update as you go. And similar, we've now opened as well for Sabbath Scout, and we opened in June of 2021, so we're just starting getting going with this. So far, we have 24 collaborators from 11 units, and we have 101 entries so far with a target of 950. So we would absolutely welcome more collaborators to join. We're welcome from anywhere in the world. So why should I join? I think there are lots of advantages for all of us. You get an audit template for data collection that we've put the hard work into producing as a group for you, and you can use that audit template and you can sell it to your managers to say, we're going to use a new product, but we're going to be part of an international collaboration auditing outcomes. This makes it a safe way of trying new technology. You get safety updates if there are safety concerns. We get multi-center reliable data. So for us, instead of having multiple small units collecting 150 here, 200 there, and the company sponsoring small studies and small units, essentially together we can get multi-center reliable real world data, and we get it a lot faster. So essentially within about a year we can get 1,000 patients data. There is shared learning within it, so if there's a better way to use a device, we find any learning points that can come out of the cohort so far, then they can be shared. And for Sabbath Scout, we are also looking at auxiliary placement and how well it works for auxiliary placement. So for Sabbath Scout, if you're using it just in the axilla, you can still put data in. If you're using it just in the breast, you can put data in. If you're using it in the axilla or breast, you can put data in. For the comparison between localizer, magseed wires, and Sabbath Scout, we'll only use the breast outcomes, of course. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, Yazan. Wonderful achievement. Thank you.